Hello everybody! I thought I would do a video today on what I have in my grooming tote. I have kind of a large brush collection, but like I said, I've had horses since I was pretty young, and so some of these brushes I've gotten a while ago. It's gotten a little ridiculous at this point. So first of all, my grooming tote is this really simple pink polka dot bag, just a plain pink thing. There aren't any dividers inside of it, and I kind of like that because otherwise I end up just tossing everything into one place anyway, and then I can never find things. Rather than having all these pockets that I have to try to put stuff back in, I rather just be able to kind of toss everything in here. The only problem, of course, with it is that my hoof pick or some of my smaller things, of course, end up at the bottom, and then I have to dig for them. But this has worked really well for me, and let's be honest, it's just so cute. So to start off, some of these brushes I consider kind of seasonal because I live in Minnesota and it's very cold out during a large part of the year. Some of these brushes I don't use year-round just because they don't work as well with kind of a long fluffy coat. So I have one of these magic brushes. It's kind of the off-brand one. I just picked it up at the Horse Expo. I really like this for during the winter to groom legs. It works really well to get like dirt off of knees and joints because it's so light. During the summer it just doesn't, like, it's kind of the same thing as just a beastie brush or a stiff brush, but I do really like it for legs, especially when it's really muddy out and to try to get the mud off. So that's that. Then I have this little brush. It's just got a little knob on the top and it's really soft, flexible rubber. This is a good one during the summer for legs when she doesn't have as much of a hair coat. And I use it for her face a lot, especially like around her eyes. I have one of these. I like this one for summer grooming to get mud off, and it's not my favorite when they shed. Again, the hair kind of like gets in here and it builds up to a point, and unless you're like picking all of the hair out all the time when they're shedding, it's a pain. So I don't really use this one very much, to be honest. One of my very favorite brushes is this. It's a shed flower. It's just got these little tiny knobbly, and it works really well to shed. This is one that I always carry in my grooming tote, kind of no matter what season it is. Then my kind of like stiff brush would be generally what I would use next, and I've got this really cute like mini wooden body brush with this little thing. I'm a fairly small person, and you can tell it's like just itty bitty. It's got nice stiff bristles, and so I use this one again to get like mud off, especially like in the summer when she's got a thin coat and I want to get the dirt off. This one works really well. I use it now when she's shedding. You can tell that the bristles are kind of far apart, and so it's easy to get all of the shedded hair out of the brush. And so I use, like right now, these two are like my best friend. I use these all the time since she's shedding. Again, I don't know if you can tell, but just from, these are clean brushes. I just washed these and there's just like white hair everywhere because she's shedding so bad right now. Okay, then this brush is probably the next kind of stiff brush. You can see it's adorable. It's a flower. It's made by the same company as the shedding flower, Epona, and it's got this really cute like pink, blue, and gold bristles. It's a fairly stiff brush, not extremely stiff, but it's just kind of nicely stiff. Again, this one works really well. I use it a lot for summer as my stiff brush when she's got a thinner coat. This brush is another like mini adorable wooden brush. These two are just like the cutest things ever. They're like made for somebody who owns a pony. Again, it's got just this really cute little thing. This one I mainly use for her face. It's kind of a nice natural, I think it's horsehair brush, so it's fairly stiff but not especially stiff, so it works really well for like legs during the summer. Otherwise, again, during the winter, this one, other than on faces, just doesn't make much sense, so I tend to not always use it. Then I've got this brush. It's also a little bit stiffer. It's made by Tail Tamer. Again, like, it's kind of a small brush. It's got short, stiffer bristles, but this one is more, it's really, really dense. And so it works really well as more of a finishing brush. I feel like this brush really makes her shiny, and my friend has the same brush and she feels the same way. We use this brush a lot. Both of us love it. The only thing is that I wish it had one of those hand straps. I like those, and with the type of brush that it is, I think it would help to make it easier to use if it had one. But so then one of my next kind of stiff brushes is another tail tamer brush. This one I think is more meant to be like a dandy brush. So this one is another brush I use. I have this one in my bag pretty much all of the time. It is very soft bristles. It's been very well used. So I use this one a lot. This is kind of what I use next after my stiffest brush typically. These two, after I use like this brush, are sort of the three that I go to over and over again. This is what I use as like a dandy brush, like a flicky brush. The bristles are very, very soft, and it works really well to like flick all that loose hair off. This is one of the largest brushes that I own. You can tell compared to the tail tamer, it's quite a bit bigger. And then if you look at the smaller brushes I have, or this one, this is a typical size horse brush, and pretty much all of the other brushes I have are like miniature brushes. And then this is the last brush. So this one is so soft that it's almost useless on my pony. On a thoroughbred, a thin-skinned thoroughbred or something, this brush would be really nice, but on her, it's not as useful as some of these other brushes, so this is just a better finishing brush than this one for her. What I have been using this brush for is, I had mentioned that Katai has a couple of training things, and one of them is spray bottles. Every pony I've ever owned has been absolutely horrible about spray bottles. So what I tend to do is spray it on a brush and then use the brush on her, which is too bad because it's absolutely gorgeous. It's like my prettiest brush that I have, and I'd like to use it, but for other things, but it's just so, so soft. I do have a jelly scrubber that I keep in her bathing bucket. I also have one of those brushes that has the bristles around the outside edge and then has a sponge in the middle that I have in her bathing bucket, but those of course I don't keep in here. But I do have a couple of other things in my tote, so you can see it's down to just a few things. I have one of these. The reason I use this is that Katai as a pony has a very, 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 very thick mane, and I would have to pull a significant amount of hair to make her hair short enough to be able to be braided and handled and all of that. How I use this is I use it kind of like you were gonna pull, so I take the longest hairs, back comb, and then cut it instead of pulling. And as you do that through the entire mane, it gets this kind of natural, like chopped off look where it really looks pulled. I just have one of these really kind of standard hoof picks. You can tell like it's been well loved. Then I have one of these really adorable, it's another tail tamer product with the really cute bristles. Onto this, Cowboy Magic. I've tried multiple detanglers. This is just the best. It works so well. This stuff, Thrushbuster, this beautiful purple thing that I get all over my hands, and then my coworkers wonder what the heck sort of art project I'm doing. And then the last thing that I have is this top line, and it is a leave-in coat, mane, and tail conditioner. So kind of a note about this is that this was made by somebody local to me who's out of business now. So I have the last 2 available containers of this that are for sale in the area, and I absolutely love this stuff. Like, it works pretty well, but it smells, oh, it smells so good. It literally smells like an Aveda salon. It's a very, very herbal smell. I think that's pretty much what I've got, and this video is already insanely long for what I have in my grooming tote video, so I will let you go and talk to you another day. Bye. The answer is too many brushes is how many brushes I have.